Keanu Reeves. When we hear his name today, we think of The Matrix, John Wick, and a man who's become more than just an actor. He's a cultural icon. But behind the fame, money, and success lies a story filled with pain, heartbreak, and struggle. A story of a boy who grew up with an unstable family, battled dyslexia, faced unimaginable loss, and yet somehow rose to become one of the most beloved actors of all time. This is the tragic but inspiring life story of Keanu Reeves. Keanu Charles Reeves was born on September 2nd, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon. His mother, Patricia, was a costume designer from England, and his father, Samuel, was a Hawaiian geologist. But Keanu's childhood was far from stable. When he was just 3 years old, his father abandoned the family after being arrested for drug possession. From that moment on, Keanu was raised mostly by his mother, but even that wasn't simple. She remarried several times and the family kept moving. From Lebanon to Australia, then to New York, and finally to Toronto, Canada, Keanu never had a place to truly call home. And to make things worse, Keanu struggled in school. He was diagnosed with dyslexia, making reading and learning extremely difficult. Because of that, he often felt like an outsider, disconnected from other kids. But there was one thing he did have, a love for storytelling and performing. Even though academics weren't his strength, Keanu found comfort in acting and playing ice hockey, where he dreamed of becoming a professional goalie. As a teenager in Toronto, Keanu's life was a mix of hope and heartbreak. While he discovered theater and small acting gigs, his family continued to deal with instability. And there was another shadow over his life. His father. Samuel Reeves drifted further and further away, eventually serving time in prison for drug-related crimes. Keanu never truly repaired that relationship. At just 17 years old, Keanu dropped out of high school to pursue acting full-time. He didn't have a diploma, but he did have determination. And so, with very little money and no connections, Keanu decided to chase his dream. Keanu began his acting career in Canadian theater productions, commercials, and even small TV roles. But his first break came in 1986 when he starred in the hockey film Youngblood alongside Rob Lowe. Not long after that, he moved to Los Angeles, the city of dreams, but also a city that could eat you alive. For Keanu, though, it was the beginning of something special. In 1989, he landed his first big hit, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. The movie was goofy, fun, and unexpectedly successful. Keanu's role as Ted instantly made him a household name among teens. But Hollywood wasn't sure if he was just a dumb surfer dude or he could actually act. And Keanu was determined to prove them all wrong. In the early 90s, he took on serious roles to break free from being typecast. He starred in Point Break in 1991, showing off his action chops alongside Patrick Swayze. That role made him an action star. Then came Speed in 1994 with Sandra Bullock. The movie was a blockbuster smash, cementing him as a leading man. But Keanu Reeves wasn't interested in just chasing fame or money. He turned down major roles and sequels, preferring to follow his instincts and passion. That risk eventually led him to a film that would change his life forever. In 1999, he starred in The Matrix. The film was groundbreaking, blending philosophy, science fiction, and jaw-dropping action. In Keanu, he was perfect as Neo, the hero who learns to bend reality. The movie became a cultural phenomenon, making Keanu an international superstar. But just as his career hit unbelievable heights, his personal life was falling apart. Behind all the cameras, Keanu's life was marked by devastating tragedy. In 1999, his girlfriend Jennifer Sim became pregnant with their daughter. But just weeks before their due date, their baby was stillborn. The grief tore their relationship apart. Then, only 2 years later, Jennifer herself died in a tragic car accident. Keanu, already devastated by the loss of their child, now had to face another heartbreaking tragedy. And that wasn't all. Earlier in life, Keanu had also lost his best friend, River Phoenix, who died in a drug overdose outside a nightclub in 1993. To make matters worse, his younger sister Kim battled leukemia for years. Keanu spent much of his time and money supporting her fight against the disease. These endless losses could have destroyed him, but somehow Keanu carried on quietly, humbly, and with an incredible strength. By the 2000s, Keanu's career slowed down. Not every project worked out, and Hollywood was quick to label him as a fading star. But Keanu wasn't done yet. In 2014, he starred in John Wick. What was meant to be a modest action film turned into a phenomenon. With its slick action scenes and emotional story of a man avenging the loss of his dog, John Wick reignited Keanu's career. Suddenly, Keanu Reeves was back, bigger than ever. When John Wick came out in 2014, nobody expected much. It was a mid-budget action movie directed by two former stunt coordinators. Studios didn't even think it would do well. But then, it blew up. The action scenes were at another level. Raw, choreographed like ballet, and shot in a way that made you feel every hit. And at the heart of it all, it was Keanu. He trained for months, martial arts, gun handling, tactical driving, all to make John Wick feel real, and it worked. Fans absolutely loved it. Critics loved it, and suddenly Keanu was back. The franchise grew and grew, sequels followed, each one bigger than the last, and John Wick wasn't just a character. It became a symbol of Keanu's own resilience. A man who had suffered unimaginable losses, but kept going. But after John Wick, something strange happened. The internet basically adopted Keanu Reeves as its favorite human. Clips of him giving up his subway seat to strangers went viral. Stories came out about him quietly donating millions to children's hospitals. People shared photos of him sitting on a park bench, eating a sandwich alone, calling him Sad Keanu. But instead of laughing at him, people related to him. They saw a superstar who wasn't pretending, a guy who had lived through pain and still kind. And that's how the Keanu effect started. It wasn't just about movies anymore. Keanu became a symbol of humility, kindness, and staying grounded, no matter how famous or big you are. Now, let's talk about the money. Keanu Reeves is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but if you ask him about it, he really doesn't care. When The Matrix became a mega hit, he made tens of millions. And what did he do? He gave away a huge portion of his salary. Reports say around 75 million to the special effects and consume teams. Why? Because he felt like they deserved it as much as he did. And he's never lived like a typical Hollywood millionaire. You won't find him in a giant mansion with 50 sports cars. Instead, he's been seen riding the subway, grabbing coffee at small cafes, and even hanging around with homeless people on the street, just talking to them like they're friends. He once said, "Money doesn't mean anything to me. I've made a lot of money, but I want to enjoy my life and not stress about building my bank account." That's who Keanu is, and maybe that's why people love him even more. You see, Keanu isn't just an actor. He's kind of a philosopher. He's known for giving these quiet, thoughtful answers in interviews that really make you stop and think. When Stephen Colbert once asked him, "What do you think happens when we die?" Keanu paused and simply said, "I know the ones who love us will miss us." Simple, honest, and real. And it makes sense. His life has been shaped by loss and grief, but also by love and gratitude. He once explained that he tries to focus on kindness because you never know the battles that someone else is fighting. It's the outlook on life that sets him apart from all the other celebrities. He's not putting on a show. He's not trying to brand himself as the nice guy. He is the nice guy. Keanu's influence goes way beyond just acting. He co-founded a motorcycle company called Arch Motorcycle, where he helps custom design bikes. He's also written a book called Ode to Happiness, which combines poetry with art. And he's been part of the gaming world too. In 2020, He shocked fans when he appeared in Cyberpunk 2077 as a major character. Gamers went wild. It showed that Keanu isn't afraid to try new things. He doesn't box himself into one lane. He just follows what excites him. Of course, we can't forget The Matrix Resurrections, which came out in 2021. It had been over 20 years since the original, and fans were excited, even if the film itself divided opinions. But seeing Keanu back as Neo was powerful. It wasn't just about the movie, it was about nostalgia, about seeing him step back into the role that defined an entire generation. And no matter what critics said, audiences were just happy to see him back in the black trench coat, dodging bullets like only Neo can. What really makes Keanu special is in the little things. He's been spotted talking to fans for hours, signing autographs without rushing, even helping strangers whose car broke down. On movie sets, he treats crew members like equals. On his birthday, he once bought a cake, sat down with strangers in a park, and shared it with them. Think about that. This is a guy who could be living in a bubble, surrounded by security, never interacting with regular people. But instead, he chooses to live simply. And because of that, people see him as not just a star, but as one of us. So, what's Keanu Reeves' legacy? Sure, he's given us legendary characters Neo, John Wick, Ted. He starred in some of the most iconic movies of the last 30 years. But his true legacy isn't just filmography, it's his humanity. Keanu Reeves is proof that you can go through hell, abandonment, learning struggles, the loss of loved ones, career ups and downs, and still come up on the other side with kindness and humility. And maybe that's the biggest lesson he gives us. That's no matter how dark life gets, you can choose to keep going, you can choose to be good, you can choose to be kind. So there you have it. The dark past and incredible rise of Keanu Reeves. He's more than just an action star. He's a symbol of resilience, kindness, and humanity in a world that often feels like it's missing those things. And honestly, that's why people love him so much. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite Keanu Reeves role? Or better yet, your favorite story about him? Drop it in the comments, and let's celebrate this amazing human being together.